so welcome everybody. I think this is our third candidates night. Fabulous to have you all here. Very, very much appreciated. And the very first thank you goes to Laurel Randers, whose facility this is. This is her art studio, which she has made available to us a number of times, including for this. And the art on the walls is for sale. You can own one of these fabulous pieces and take it home. So please do have a look and do consider that. Wellesley Media are here as well, so thank you to them. And I also want to acknowledge Jamie Malone from who has biodynamic wine for us. So do ask her about that. And then a thank you to the candidates, because you make everything that we do in this town possible. You volunteer, you step up, you get involved, you put your foot forwards, and you make it happen. So please thank yourselves and each other, and everybody acknowledge the candidates. Okay, and there are chairs over here if people want to sit. I should introduce myself. I'm Quentin Prideaux. I'm the president of Sustainable Wellesley. I've just discovered I'm still British. After 19 years here, I'm still discovering Britishisms, and apparently tuck in is one of them. I did once offer to get a website pregnant. I told someone I would knock up a website, which means put it together quickly, overnight, and they told me that didn't quite mean that over here. So, like I said, 19 years later, I'm still doing it. Other leaders of Sustainable Wellesley, we need to acknowledge one of the candidates is a leader of Sustainable Wellesley, Lisa Olney. Also Scott Bender, over there. Phyllis Tierman, who's sitting down at the front, who will be timekeeper. And Mary Gard, who's over here. And then my brain goes when I stand up. Regina LaRue. Thank you. Here at the back. It was on point. If anybody didn't hear that, it was fabulous.
Yes.
It was really so we're going to take credit for that. Sustainability, very quickly. Sustainability to me is the idea that things that can't go on forever won't. And we either need to change the way they go on, or they're going to change on us. Sustainability is just self-interest and time. So we constantly as a town are making plans and are investing and thinking about things that are 50 years out. The library, the bridge that took forever, where 16 goes over 9, the high school. So we just want to add to that list the beauty of our town, the quality of our town, the air that we breathe, the climate that we have, the health of the soil and the trees and everything else around us. So we are delighted that you're here to consider that with us. Our mission is to engage the residents, town and businesses of Wellesley in the action required for sustainability. Businesses, honestly, we really haven't done enough with yet. Residents, we have 3,000 people on our mailing list that get Phyllis's fabulous newsletter. Honestly, one of the best newsletters I get on any subject from anyone. Very active Facebook page, and so that brings us to the town of Wellesley, and here we are. It's my vision that when people in the town are considering special interest groups, they add one to the list of school parents and seniors, and that one is us. And I think we're making real progress. Okay, how it's going to work is there's going to be 3 minutes per candidate. We're going to go by board. The order is school, recreation, planning board, NRC, library, board of health, selectmen. Each person will get, we said originally 2 minutes, we think we can do 3. One of the candidates said, you cannot say anything in 2 minutes. So 3 minutes. Phyllis will do the timing for you, let you know when you're close to the end. And then after all of that, there will be the opportunity for questions, and we want you to write your questions on a card, which will be then collected. We will randomly select one card per board, and then if we've got time to do any more after that, we'll go back to where there are even more questions. Are there any, did I forget anything? Are there any questions about how it works? So we'll
Questions
pass
are after
everything. So we do all of the boards, thank you, and then we'll do the questions, because then the timing stays under control.
Do you want to pass out the cards?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're reused. Very good. So, school and Jim, thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'm going to play by the rules. I'm only going to talk, believe it or not, for 2 minutes. And people who know me, know I can talk for 22 minutes. So, well, thanks to Sustainable Wellesley for hosting this annual candidates event. For you who don't know me, I'm Jim Roberti. I've been involved with schools for almost 25 years. I served as the Hardy PTO Vice President, believe it or not, and President from 1995 to 1997. In 1997, I was elected to the school committee and served as the representative to the PBC. I worked to bring the reconstruction of the Sprague School, the Bates School renovation, and the Warren Building renovation to a successful townwide vote. I am married to Betsy Roberti, who some of you may know. She's the vice chair this year of the advisory committee. And we have a daughter who's 30, it's hard to say that, 30, and she's a fashion designer and lives in New York City. And recently married, so that's another change you guys will go through someday. I'm a real estate attorney with an MS in real estate development from MIT, and I'm currently a member of the planning board and also a town meeting member. My career, my town and personal lives have addressed many sustainable issues. I've worked with clients on large-scale development of solar PV projects. I've also supported in town, I live across the street from the North 40, and I was very active in that whole process to make sure that the town purchased that as a vital open space asset. We were very nervous, both Betsy and I, that it was going to be sold to a developer or it was going to fall out of the town's hands. So I think I was at a meeting every couple of days on that. On the planning board side, I supported the zoning bylaw that allows for a large-scale PV solar field on the Cloveleaf at the Route 95 interchange. And we're happy to say that this zoning change was a step that led to the approval of Wellesley as a Massachusetts green community. Why am I running for school committee? I'm running for school committee to continue my service to the Wellesley Public Schools. As far as sustainability is concerned, I'm in favor of working toward a net zero standard for the construction of the HHU schools, and also have many ideas for curricular additions on sustainability. I propose, finally, that the school committee partner with the selectmen to reach out to the governor, the executive branch, pretty much anybody, including the Department of Utilities, Public Utilities, to address gas leaks near schools in the town. But in short, I'm excited to get started soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Jim Rodrigue for the recreation. Thank you.
Please, you can use some of my time to sit down. I'm Jim Rodrigue. I'm not going to take 2 minutes. I'm running for the Recreation Commission. In the fall, I was appointed to the Recreation Commission to fill a vacancy, and I'm now running for a 3-year term. It's an unopposed election, so I'm not going to take much of your time for that. You'll hear from me later for the Board of Health. But I do want to bring Quentin back. So this past Sunday, some of you know there was a Super Bowl. Quentin was a guest at my Super Bowl party. And we had a contest. Who can come closest to the actual score? And Quentin won. A gift certificate to the local.
Bribing of the
my recreation speech.
I was way off. But I was close.
You're pretty good for someone from across the
You're welcome. Planning board. I'll say them all so you know what order you're coming in. Alphabetical order by surname. Tom, Dee, Patricia, Frank. So, Tom. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I definitely will keep it under 3 minutes. No, I got my little stopwatch going. I want to make sure. It's a little trick of the trade. So, some of you I know, some of you I'm meeting for the first time. My name is Tom Ahern. I've been a resident of the town for 12 years now. My wife and I live over on Great Plain Ave. We have 5 kids, all in the Wellesley Public Schools, from a senior in high school down to 4th grade at Fisk, and everywhere in between. My background, real quick, is a curious mix of both public policy, worked in the legislature for a time. I was a part of the Brownfields Law and the writing of the Brownfields Law here in the state back in 96 and 97. Seemed like I'm going on forever. After that, and after we created the new Brownfields program, I went to work for the city of Boston. I was the first Brownfields director for the city of Boston. And we did some really great things for a number of years there, cleaning up environmentally contaminated sites throughout the city. And most importantly, getting a lot of really good funds and grant funds from the state and from the federal government to clean up those sites. It's kind of neat. I was saying this at the Democratic Town Committee meeting, that whenever I go back to Roxbury now for indoor track and I'm in Dudley Square and I see some of the sites that we worked on now, and those are all cleaned up and they're reusable sites now. It's a great point of pride. For about the last 10 years now, I've had my own company. I started a company that specializes in gaining land use permits for everything from renewable energy projects to real estate development projects and a lot of different types of things all across the country. Most proud of a lot of the work that we've done in renewable energy. We've probably permitted more from a public policy and a public affairs firm. We probably permitted more new turbines in this country than any other public affairs firm in the last 8 years. And I can tell you that it's very difficult work, but it's very, very rewarding. Some of the stuff that we were involved in includes the largest utility scale solar project in New York State. Which took place out on Long Island. So I've got some experience both on the planning side as well as on the economic development side of what works, but also what doesn't. Most of my team, we spend every single day before planning boards and zoning boards of appeals, dealing with special permits across the country. So we've had a real good firsthand look at what works from the municipal side and how they respond to citizens and how they don't. I've got some ideas about how we may be able to improve that here in our system. Thank you. You're right, I do. That's actually about 10. I would ask for your vote, mostly because I care about this community a great deal. I think that sustainability is a major portion of why I'm running, and my experience hopefully will be of assistance to the town. So thank you for letting me come today. Thanks.
Did want to make, I should say the names properly because you're actually going to be voting for these people. Deed McCullum is next. Sorry, that was Tom Ahern, and now Deed McCullum, please. And thank you.
Hello, I probably really won't take 3 minutes. I'm Deed McCullum. I've been a resident of Wellesley for 29 years. I have 2 grown children that went through the public school system. I am interested in running for the planning board because there's a number of issues that Wellesley is facing, specifically affordable housing, which will happen in Wellesley. How it happens, we all have an option to make a determination. I believe in engagement, citizen participation, transparency. I want people to be involved in what I think is a real opportunity for Wellesley. With affordable housing, I think we have an opportunity to do something different. Wellesley has a history of leading the way in sustainability, in you know, the RDF and various things. I think Wellesley also has the opportunity to do that with housing. And I would welcome the opportunity to do that. I have a long career in healthcare, which you're like, yeah, and that relates to planning how. I would say it relates to housing because everything in healthcare changes all the time. What the normal is change. You have a lot of constituencies. You have physicians, you have patients, you have insurers, you have payers, you have a whole host of organizations and constituencies which you have to take into consideration if you're going to make decisions that are going to work and can be sustained. From the sustainability Wellesley perspective, with these building projects, you have to take sustainability into consideration. You have to know what the impact is. Not what the impact is today, but you need to know what the impact is 3 generations from now, 7 generations from now. We have our own water, we have our own municipal electrical, we have a lot of control, but they're finite resources, and we need to consider how those are going to be considered with these big projects. And I also believe that with affordable housing, there's opportunity to make, in the unified plan, we identified that, you know, diversity was an issue, employees living in town were dissatisfied, seniors who wanted to retire. There's an opportunity to provide opportunities for those groups if we carefully consider it. So I would ask for your vote, even though I'm not a traditional candidate, and I would welcome your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Deed McCullum. Yes.
You might need to clarify who is running for which of the planning positions.
Because that was a one-year position.
So there's
Thank
only
you.
one person running for 5-year, and that is
2 people running for 5.
Oh, there's 2 for 5 and 3 for 1. Okay.
So,
The first guy, Tom, is running for the 5-year.
I'm running for a 5-year.
thank you.
Dee's running for the 1-year.
Thank you. And Patricia Mallet is running for 5 years.
And Frank Pinto's
Thank
running
you.
for the 1-year.
Thank you. So 2 for the 1 year, 2 for the 5 year. Great. Thank you.
And there's a third person who's not here.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Who's running for
For
the
the 1-year, Albert Berry.
Good evening, I'm Patty Mallet. I'm running for the 5-year. And I read an original email that said 2 minutes, so I planned for 2, so I should be able to achieve it in 3. I'm here to request your support for my candidacy for the planning board. I've been serving on the planning board since last summer as an appointed member. I have lived in Wellesley for over 15 years. I live in the Northgate Road neighborhood with my husband and 3 sons. They've attended Wellesley public schools up through high school. They attended Bates Elementary, and my oldest son was one of the first kids to attend. His kindergarten start date was delayed because they hadn't quite finished construction. When I moved here from San Francisco, and I was a stay-at-home mom until about 1.5 years ago when I returned back to my professional roots. I'm a civil engineer project manager now with the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority. I'm managing some wastewater rehab projects and some water facilities projects out at Wachusett Dam in Clinton, Massachusetts. When I saw last spring that the planning board had 2 appointed positions they were looking to fill, I decided to throw my name into consideration because I'd been wanting to get involved in the town, and I really felt that my civil engineering background, that the planning board was a great way for me to do that. One of the primary reasons I became interested in the planning board was the large house review. My neighborhood has been drastically impacted by all the houses that have been torn down and rebuilt. And the engineer in me saw that other people were having water in their basement, but then the house next door to me was torn down, and I watched the construction progress and saw that they didn't put in any of the stormwater collection systems that are now required by the large house bylaw. So I was interested in getting involved because I thought I could make a difference because, you know, I'm familiar with the engineering portion of that bylaw. Since I've been on the planning board, though, my exposure has broadened significantly. We've been involved with the numerous 40B comprehensive permit applications in town, as well as the 40R overlay zoning district for Wellesley Office Park, and then we've been looking at recodifying the bylaws. As a registered civil engineer, I believe I provide an expertise that has been missing with the planning board in the oversight of these efforts, and I'm eager to continue my work with the planning board, so I really would appreciate your support on March 5th.
So that was Patty, no, or Patricia. Patricia, introduce yourself as Patty. And final candidate that's here for the planning board is Frank Pinto, who's running for the one-year position. Thank you.
Thank you, Sustainable Wellesley, for inviting us all to talk about our candidacy. I'm Frank Pinto. I'm a candidate for the one-year term. I figure if I win, I can use the same signs again next year. So I've been a member, a vice chair and chair of the Wellesley Advisory Committee, which is the expanded version of the typical town finance committee. We have every board come before us, including the planning board. So I'm familiar with most of, or all of the boards actually in Wellesley. I'm currently a town meeting member. I'm also a member of the Wellesley Council on Aging. I'm a volunteer there as well. Background, I did specialized coursework at Middlebury College in urban planning in addition to economics and environmental studies. After college, I took a position as an environmental scientist, directing environmental impact statements for housing developments, commercial developments, and also industrial projects. Switching gears, I completed an MBA at the Tuck School at Dartmouth and had a successful career in venture capital and private equity, where I helped to finance and grow high-tech companies as a general partner, managing general partner. I've been a board member and at times an executive of many small growing companies. I've been in Wellesley since 1986. My wife Susan, who's here, is a retired special ed teacher, and our daughters Catherine and Emily are both graduates of Wellesley Public Schools. So just a few things. So on the sustainable side, I spent a lot of time with Michael Zahner in the last few weeks just to try to, he's the fellow who's leaving, who's the director now of the planning board, to try to get some idea of, really what's going on. And, one of the things he said on sustainability, I asked about the project on Delancey, and there's one on Weston Road that are 40Bs that are kind of morphed into other scenarios. Can we put solar on the top of those? And he said, yeah, that's something that, and Catherine may correct me. Catherine Johnson is the, so.
This is your show.
Yeah, so Michael Zahner said, yeah, we could do that. And, we should have as many hybrids or electric cars as we possibly can. They actually require less maintenance, so that's a good thing. So here's some of the things I'm interested in. In addition to that, with the meteoric rise of internet purchasing, the downtown is, in some jeopardy of losing a lot of businesses. And we need to be creative with regard to that and have that in our mind. Wellesley needs more reasonably priced senior housing. It would be great to have a movie theater in town somehow or another, that really brings the community together. There's one in Chatham that works really, really well. In addition, I've had lots and lots of experience hiring people in executive positions over a long period of time. And if I'm elected, I would love to be part of the search committee that finds the next director. Thank you. I'd appreciate your vote on March 5th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that was Frank Pinto, the last of the planning board positions. Now we're going to go to the Natural Resources Commission. And first is Raina McManus.
Hello everybody, thanks for having me here tonight, Sustainable Wellesley. My name is Raina McManus and I'm running for re-election to the Wellesley Natural Resources Commission to fulfill its mission of stewardship, education, and advocacy for our town's natural assets. Why do I care so much about this? For me, it all started 28 years ago with our water. I had ripped out our front lawn and put in a garden, but nothing was growing. I headed out to the local hardware store, brought home a canister of something called Grub Be Gone, and just happened to show it to my husband, Michael, a chemist. He was horrified. It had diazinon in it, and a few years later, diazinon was pulled from the shelves. Michael grew up in Wellesley, a few blocks from where we live, and he told me our drinking water comes from our own wells and draw from the grounds beneath where we live, work, and play. Our neighborhood is on top of the Rosemary Brook Aquifer, which is actually right under us right now, and anything that gets put on the ground can conceivably seep into our drinking water. Fast forward to 2010, we're in the future all of a sudden. Development is proposed in our neighborhood on Brookside Road, right over there, and right within our town's wellhead protection area. Neighbors quickly organized and founded the Friends of Brookside to educate first ourselves and then neighbors and then the entire town about this important water resource area. Because of this experience, I was asked to run for the Wellesley Natural Resources Commission. My experience as co-founder of Friends of Brookside, 4-year town meeting member, and 5-year NRC commissioner has taught me how our town government works, which board is responsible for what, and the importance of taking time to build broad support for complex projects. The strong relationships I've built with our residents, our businesses, our talented town staff, and our 9 independently elected boards and multiple committees have enabled me to produce what I think are positive results for our town, but none of it happens alone. I'm very proud of the NRC's accomplishments over the last 5 years, some of which include the hiring of our new director, Brandon Schmidt, banning single-use plastic checkout bags, partnering with the Wellesley MLP on the money and energy-saving LED streetlight conversion project, raising awareness and working to address over 200 gas leaks, which are so harmful to our trees, serving on the Community Preservation Committee to propose and approve funding for important open space and recreation projects, including team rooms and bathrooms at the track and field, and $100,000 for the girls' softball field permitting designs. And next week, the committee will vote on a $500,000 appropriation towards construction costs for the girls' softball fields. Yay. I love it all, from teaching children about stormwater runoff at Wellesley STEM Expo to negotiating a gas leak detection device to help protect our trees. I appreciate the natural assets we have, and I serve to protect them while aiding progress that enriches the lives of all residents. I hope to have your vote on March 5th. Thank you very much.
So there's Raina McManus for the NRC, and now Jim Miller. Thank you.
So I want to thank Sustainable Wellesley for hosting this event and all of you for coming. I also want to thank Raina for her 5 years of working on the NRC and her 28-year work within the town. I'm Jim Miller, and I'm running for Wellesley's Natural Resources Commission. I've lived in Wellesley for 20 years, and I work at a national level with Jim Hansen, Bill McKibben, and Julia Olson in the fight against global warming and the need to accelerate the adoption of sustainable practices. If Jim, Bill, and Julia were here tonight, they would fall right in and would be anxious to hear all about our trails and wetlands. In addition to hearing about the preservation of our natural resources, they would also want to hear about what strategies we are pursuing in terms of community outreach to get more people to join the sustainable movement. That is where I come in, and that is why I chose to run for NRC. I believe that NRC offers a unique platform to reach more people with our message. I tend to continue to support all of NRC's important works in terms of preserving open space and wetlands, but I also want to leverage the playing fields that NRC owns in order to launch a charm offensive to the broader community in the hope of attracting more people to join us in our efforts to make Wellesley the most sustainable community in America. The strategies I will pursue to fight climate change and promote sustainability are also things that will make our town more beautiful, our properties more valuable, our families healthier, our air and water cleaner, our open spaces healthier and more plentiful, and we'll build a stronger community where we can live healthy and happy lives doing the things we love. In short, we need to be relentlessly positive about how sustainable practices enhance people's lives. I have chosen to run for an NRC because it owns the open space and playing fields where people go to find joy in their lives. And sporting events are one of the few places in American life where children, parents, and grandparents gather in large numbers. I want NRC to welcome people of all generations to those fields and message to them about all the things people in this room care most about. We are not just asking them to care for the planet, but are instead giving them ways to make a deeper intergenerational commitment to each other and future generations so that they can live long, healthy, and happy lives together. That is why I'm running for NRC, and I ask for your vote on Tuesday, March 5th.
So there was Jim Miller for the NRC, and now for the library trustees, if I said that right, and Mara Lenza.
No.
No?
You could speak, but.
Sorry. I've got, oh, sorry.
I'm happy to have her as my stand.
Just says Anne, I just do what I'm told.
Truthfully, we have 3 Anns on our board. So Ann Mars, like she actually has a second part of her name. I'm Ann Howley, and we also have Ann Rappaport. So we're known as Ann H, Ann R, and Ann Mar. So
Okay.
if you want to come, please do.
That was my one ad-lib.
It was a very nice intro. Thank you. Well, as you said, I actually am Ann Howley. I am running for the library as a library trustee. Marla Robinson is also running, and she was very sorry not to be here, but a previous commitment just made that not possible. I am very pleased, first of all, that Sustainable Wellesley has done a meeting like this. I think the more you bring people together on a particular topic is really a very valuable thing. It gives us all a chance to meet people whose names we've seen, like Quentin, and on the wonderful newsletter. But Sustainable Wellesley's done an amazing job. We moved here in 1993, and I would say that it was not very long after that so much sustainability talk, was really prevalent. And we moved from Maryland and actually never had to recycle anything. So when we came up here, really one of the first things we had to do was go to Home Depot and get, multiple bins. So it's been something, obviously, that's been a town thing for a long time, and Sustainable Wellesley has taken it to a greater level. I started on advisory as my town commitment, and from there went on to the library board, and I've been on there now for several terms. It is far and away, at least for me, one of the finest things that you can do. And I'll tie it to sustainability because we are truly a pioneer in sustainability with the sharing of books and the sharing of space. We work very hard. I've been pleased to be part of a board that is fabulous to work with. We have a wonderful director in Jamie Jurgensen, for whom sustainability is a very important aspect of her job. She works clearly with the groups around town. She has started a green team among the staff, so they are constantly looking for opportunities to do sustainable things, within the daily library world. We're pleased to host programs to partner with you all and other groups in town to promote that. And as you all know, we are the hub of the town. So if you can get something done at the library, you will attract a good group. I would also say to you, we are now working, as you probably all know, we have this wonderful library of things, which is probably our most recent sustainable effort. And if you haven't taken advantage of it, you can take all the way from a board game to a puzzle to tools. So if you need that one, power tool, you don't have to buy it, you can borrow it. And then, but the best thing lately is the keyboard. That's the newest one. So if you think you might want to try one, we have one to borrow, and then you can just bring it back. The other question that I know was in the sustainable thing, and I'm happy to answer further questions. We are looking to do a renovation, as you all know, of the main library. What we're looking at is reimagining space, which we consider honestly is the biggest sustainable thing. This will take our building. It's been well maintained, part of sustainability, but it will also move it into the future. So there's no question of having to knock it down because it doesn't meet future needs. So thank you for the time, and I welcome your vote. Also a candidate in Precinct C, so if you're there, I'd appreciate that vote too. Thank you.
And Howard for the Library Trustees. So now Board of Health and Linda Oliver, great, please. Thank you.
Good evening. Oh, I could probably do better without these things. You never know. Good evening. I'm Linda Grape. I want to thank Sustainable Wellesley for organizing this wonderful event and for you all to come out on a Sunday evening when I'm sure you'd rather stay at home. Reflecting when my husband and I moved here 38 years ago as the first time home buyers, we called and changed accounts for all the utilities, and we said, okay, so what do we do for trash? We don't have trash pickup in Wellesley. We go to this wonderful and amazing thing called the RDF. Well, we thought that was the best thing since sliced bread, and at the time it was cutting edge some 38 years ago to have such a wonderful asset in the community. So we brought all our family and friends when they came to see. They thought it was the best thing. Now our kids see, can we go and pick up things from the recycling unit to go use and repurpose it for their own homes or for schools. So we think it's great. So thank you. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself. I've told you a little bit already. Tell you about my professional life and why I'd like to be appreciate your support for the Board of Health. As some of you know, I'm from New Jersey, exit 4. I've moved to Wellesley with my husband Peter, where we've raised our 3 children. And I've been fairly active in the community in a variety of different ways. I've been a town meeting member, I can't remember if it's 19 or 20 years, but a long time. And I've also served as president of various PTOs and parent associations, president of the Wellesley Hills Junior Women's Club, the Wellesley Scholarship Foundation, Kids Time. I've served on 3 town athletic boards, Cub Scout and Brownie leader, and as some people know, soccer coach. Not very good on that one, but we gave it our best. And while my children were in the elementary schools, I was an environmental aide where I learned so much from the late Bev Morrison. She taught me so much about recycling, as did the teachers in our schools, as did the kids. And I've adopted many of the habits, like turning off the water when I brush my teeth. TMI, I know, but I've learned so much through my experience as a volunteer. Professionally, I am a physician assistant with a master's in public health and health services administration. I got that both degrees from Johns Hopkins. I've maintained my national certification and state licensure as a PA, but always combining clinical work with management work, healthcare management. I've practiced in terms of age groups from neonatology to geriatrics. My passion now is probably more geriatrics and pediatrics in that order. I've held a variety of healthcare roles. I've worked for many years, no longer, at Harvard Vanguard and its many permutations. I ran the practice down the street. I am now with Blue Cross of Massachusetts running their federal employee program. And while I've done a variety of work, I've won awards with the Massachusetts Hospital Association. But why I'd like to tell you why am I running? A lot of different reasons. I think that the Board of Health can work so well and collaboratively with Sustainable Wellesley. There's big opportunities, including more stringent recycling requirements, as many communities have. But I think it's time for me to give back to the community and offer my professional skills and expertise. And last but not least, I am the proud grandmother of 2 adorable toddlers. And I really feel that it's my responsibility that we pass on to the next generation an environment that is healthy and safe. And it is our collective responsibility that we provide that to the next generation and that it is healthier than the one that we enjoy now. So I greatly appreciate your support and consideration. Thank you.
that was Linda Grape for Board of Health, and now Jim Rodriguez.
Thank you, and hello again. I am Jim Rodriguez, and I'm running for the Board of Health. And thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. I remember I was here last year, and it was extremely wet outside, and I felt awful about tracking in all of that mud and dampness into this beautiful space. So I'm a native of Central Maine. My wife, Kathleen McNaughton, is a clinical psychologist here in town and is originally from Topsfield, Mass. Along with our 3 daughters, ages 11, 14, and 16, we've lived in Wellesley for 13 years. I also have a son who lives with his wife in Long Meadow, Massachusetts, and he works as a pediatric nurse practitioner at the Children's Hospital in Hartford. I'm a clinical psychologist by training. I've been in healthcare for 30 years as a clinician, a researcher, a teacher, and an administrator. I'm a professor of surgery and psychiatry in the Harvard Medical School, and I'm vice chair of the Department of Surgery at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. I've been funded for over 20 years by the National Institutes of Health to conduct research on how best to mitigate social, economic, and racial disparities in healthcare. I've chaired many committees, I've served on faculty senate, been involved and engaged academically. Across all these activities, I have a history of building relationships, developing new initiatives for healthcare, establishing healthcare policy, experiences that I'll bring to the board. A couple of years ago, I made a conscious effort to reduce my professional commitments nationally and internationally and focus more on what I could do locally. It was at that point that I ran for town meeting last year. As I mentioned, was appointed to fill a vacancy on the Recreation Commission, and I feel like the Board of Health really fits well with my background and skill set. So the health department in town, as you know, does a tremendous amount of work under Lenny Izzo on behalf of our residents: disease prevention, health promotion, community health and nursing, public outreach. We have 160 plus food establishments in Wellesley that all have to be inspected multiple times. They do a tremendous amount of work. And I've been fortunate, as has Linda, to attend some of the board meetings so that we can learn about the Board of Health and how it operates and what the issues are. We've both learned a lot. If elected as a member of the Board of Health, I'll commit my time and expertise to ensure the optimal well-being of our neighbors, young and old, and to raise the overall health of our community. There are several initiatives that I'd like to pursue. First, I believe our health department is gravely underfunded and understaffed in this town. We have a new state-mandated food code that we have to implement in this town, which is going to consume a tremendous amount of time and effort. We have mental health resources that are lacking for our youth in this town. I feel we need tighter regulations for tobacco and nicotine delivery products to limit availability. And I feel, and I've had correspondence with Regina on this issue, we need to move Wellesley toward later school start times for middle and high school students. The impact on their health is tremendous, and we need to move forward with that in this town. So I would be honored to have your support and vote on March 5th. Thank you.
That was Jim Rodriguez for the Board of Health, and now the final Board of Selectmen, and Jen Fallon. Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you to Sustainable Wellesley and our kind hosts and all of you for coming out tonight. I wanted to introduce myself to you all. I moved to Wellesley from Rhode Island in 2013, the day before my son started kindergarten at Sprague. Immediately got involved in the community. My adopted biracial daughter attended PAWS, so I was the PTO president there. Last year I was the PTO president at Sprague. I became on the board of the Wellesley Mothers Forum, and then in 2016 I ran for town meeting. Really enjoying town government, I thought, how further can I help this wonderful community that has really welcomed us? I thought I could use the previous career that I had as a project manager at a Fortune 50 company, CVS, and take that management background in the budget analysis and the consensus building that we did every day to help Wellesley. So I decided I wanted to run for the Board of Selectmen. I chose the Board of Selectmen because I had so many interests in town, and the board covers many of them. For instance, our schools, diversity issues, housing, sports, the vibrant business community, sustainability issues, as well as traffic. So I wanted to use my energy, I would like to use my energy and open-mindedness to help on this most important board. I found out during this process of running that many people I know and don't know aren't aware of what the Board of Selectmen does, never mind the important decisions that they're making on a daily basis for our town. What I'd really like to do is help improve and increase communication from the board to the town, and also from the town to the board, to know what our people are caring about. Now, we're here tonight to talk about sustainability. I've always felt very strongly about sustainability as an individual, working to advocate and execute sustainability on a daily basis. For us, we start it at home with our children. What's great about children, as we all know, is they can make things their normal. So things that are strange for us are very natural to them. The other day, my son saw a littering $500 sign on the side of the highway. When I explained why they had to have those signs, he was aghast that someone would actually throw garbage out of a car window. Like, everyone used to do that 20 years ago. And then at Sprague, we've had a wonderful experience there with the Green Schools. They've helped reduce waste in the cafeteria. We've also, as the PTO, we've worked to put sustainability up top in our planning. For instance, teacher luncheons, our cookie walk. So we look to make smarter environmental choices. For instance, reducing water bottles and using those wonderful big bottles, reducing our packaging, anything we can. So lastly, if elected to the Board of Selectmen, I would be very excited to work with the wonderful NRC and sustainability experts in town. Obviously, spreading this crucial message to as many people as possible is so important. And I strongly believe that we need to help people across all socioeconomic groups understand that there are changes they can make. It's not just for people who may have an excess of budget. So I'm asking for your vote tonight, and I appreciate your time. Thank
you. So that was Jen Fallon for the Board of Selectmen and Lisa Olney now for the Board of Selectmen.
So thanks everybody for coming tonight. Some of you know me from my role on the Sustainable Wellesley Leadership Team or on my role on the Wellesley Natural Resources Commission. We've worked together on projects dealing with gas leaks, pesticide reduction, plastic bags, promoting native plants, and even learning to fold furoshiki cloths at the Wellesley Marketplace at our wrapping station. But for those of you who don't know me, I've lived in Wellesley for 25 years with my husband Tim Fulham, who's here somewhere. We raised our daughters Mary and Elizabeth here, and before that I was an executive editor at the National Geographic Society in Washington. So as an activist and an advocate, I've lobbied and testified at the State House and worked on campaigns for state and national candidates. But I never thought of myself as a candidate until about 5 years ago when a friend called me and asked me to run for the Natural Resources Commission. Her case was pretty persuasive. She said that state and federal government is really important, but it's really here in town government that we can have the biggest impact on our own community. So I ran and won a seat on the NRC and on town meeting for Precinct E. And over these past 5 years, I've led major projects for the NRC. I've built relationships inside and outside of town government, and I've learned firsthand what makes our decisions successful long term. And now I'd like to bring that experience and perspective to the Board of Selectmen. So the Board of Selectmen is the chief executive board of the town. They have a number of basic responsibilities such as overseeing capital budgets, coordinating the town financial plan, appointing the police and fire chiefs. But their primary function is to bring together elected boards, town officials, and stakeholders to grapple with some of the big decisions that we have to make in the town. And right now we face decisions about the redevelopment of 3 of our elementary schools, implementing the town's housing production plan, long-time transportation and traffic issues, and the disposition of the North 40. So there are 3 priorities I'd like to highlight for our work on these issues. The first is inclusivity. I believe that successful and lasting decisions come from a process of partnership and dialogue when we bring differing stakeholders to the table early and throughout the whole process. The second priority is livability. I'm committed to preserving our town's quality of life while also creating a welcoming environment that's attainable for people of different incomes and backgrounds and ages. And the third priority is sustainability. To me, sustainability is an approach that applies to everything we do in town government. It's about preparing ourselves and our town for the challenges of today and tomorrow, with decisions that meet both our current needs and our obligation to future generations. So I look forward to bringing my experience in town government, my commitment to advocacy and service, and my passion for public engagement to the Board of Selectmen, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you all so much. So if you have written down a question, please pass it forwards. And if somebody could collect those. And just while those are coming forwards, I'll let you know of a few things that are going on. March 5th, vote. Put it in your schedule now, if you, just in case. Make a plan, they say that's the thing that makes sure you get there. We have our wonderful dinner and a movie is coming back. We have two, so our website for details, two great movies at the library with dinner. There's also at the Tolles Parsons Centre energy efficiency, no I've forgotten what seminar. Is that, Fred, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yes.
Home Energy Efficiency
A
Seminar.
Home Energy Efficiency Seminar, thank you. I think somebody walked off with my notes. So, the movies are Stink and
Before the Flood.
Before the Flood. Both very good. The group looking at it looked at a whole set of movies and picked those. So I have a few questions. Oh, the other thing to mention, all of the candidates have very kindly answered written questions, which we are making available on our website. Is that up now, or it'll be up tomorrow? So if any of this blurred or you didn't catch the notes, or like, go on, and they've all been very thoughtful about answering pretty straightforward questions about their approach to sustainability. And there is more food after this. Okay, so I just a few questions. I'm just going to write down which is which. Okay, so what we're going to do is ask a question by board, and so it goes to the board, so all of the candidates for that board get to answer. So in no particular order, the last one that we just did, Board of Selectmen, the question is, and perhaps we'll go in the reverse order of people that we did when you spoke, why do we still use the term select men in 2019? Other towns in the council, please could be moving to the 21st century, when I say late 20th century. Please.
So I assume that's kind of a rhetorical question. Lots of towns in Massachusetts have actually been making that conversion. I don't have an explanation for why we still call it the selectmen. I know I've actually looked at this issue. A lot of boards have changed to either select board. The awkwardness that comes from that is then the people are called the members of the select board, which is a little cumbersome. So a lot of towns have developed town council as an alternative name, and then your councilor so-and-so instead of but I actually fully support that idea. As I say, I've actually researched it and have noticed an accelerated rate at which that's happening around it. Yeah. So,
Jen?
To echo what Lisa said, I do not know the reason, but I think a positive thing is the current board is 3 women and 2 men. So I think it hasn't stopped anyone. But yes, I think select board or anything else that we came upon would send a nice message, because my 10-year-old and my 7-year-old are kind of stuck on the term. So, as it's on my bumper sticker on my car, you're not a man, Mom. So yes, great question.
Very good, thank you. Okay, so planning board, and keep the answers nice and short like that would be great also. So the question is, what is being done to improve bike lanes, especially from east side of Wellesley to town centre? And again, if we go in reverse order, that would mean Frank Pinto first, please. If Frank is still here.
Yeah. What was it,
from the east side of Wellesley to town centre, what is being done to improve bike lanes?
Okay, well, I live near Kingsbury, so I see the bike lanes that are noted on Kingsbury. And I think that probably similar notations on some of the streets that are going in that direction would be a positive, step in the positive. But I'm a biker, okay, and it's really dangerous, okay? And I know people have gotten killed doing it, and I buy the best helmet I possibly can get, and the cars don't see you, so, you know, you kind of do it at your own risk, and the bike paths, yeah, they are. In Boston, in the Back Bay, we have a daughter who lives in the Back Bay, and yes, they are doing it. But with the way they've done it in the Back Bay, is they've actually moved the cars, you look at Beacon Street in the Back Bay, they've moved the cars over, okay, taken away a driving lane, which is okay, it slows down the traffic, which is good, and then there's a real bike lane that goes there. And that might be something that, you know, that's the ideal way to do it, because it really reduces the danger for the biker. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. So same question, Patricia Mallet, please.
So I think that's a great question. I live on the other side of Route 9, and I ride the Pan Mass Challenge every year, and I meet my friend who lives on, she lives near Curve Street, and we meet at Wellesley College. And the most dangerous part of my bike ride, and we ride up to 50, 60, 70 miles when we're training, is riding from my house to meet her at Wellesley College. And it's definitely because when DPW added those curbs on Weston Road, it just became increasingly difficult because for some reason everybody's in a really rush, a big rush to get across town, and they're really annoyed by bikers, and they don't want to move over to make room for you, and there's no room for you to go over onto the side because of those curbs. And DPW installed them without, you know, it's one of my issues that I want to address. There is a mobility community and a mobility committee that is looking at traffic in Wellesley, and I think it's a big issue that we need to address. I mean, we're all familiar with the guy who got killed at the corner of Linden and Weston, and the curbs only made it more difficult, more dangerous, I think. So it's a great question, and I think citizens need to keep talking about it.
Thank you. Dee.
So a couple thoughts on
Sorry, Deed was next.
what's that? Oh,
Deed.
Oh.
McCollum was next.
oh,
We're
sorry.
doing it.
I was just saying, if you want to be me, that's okay. I also think it's a great question. It's an opportunity for Wellesley. I've been an avid biker. I agree. Bike paths are virtually non-existent. Used to bike to the commuter rail, and I used to walk, and I was hit by a car and a pedestrian there. And so I know the full gamut of the danger of the town, and there's a lot of opportunity. And I know that there's some proposals on the table to improve bike lanes and provide more options for people. And I think as a town, we owe it to our citizens so that they can be healthy, so that we reduce our dependency on cars. And I have x-rays to prove that, yeah, it's a dangerous community presently. I'm all right.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. So I work here in town, so I work over on 36 Washington Street, so right over by the rental center. So every day when I'm going over to work, I see the bikes and the cars trying to navigate one another. And cars that are going too fast, bikes that sometimes don't stop at the red lights and continue through, cars that sometimes don't stop at the yellow lights or the red lights and come through. We worked, just real quick, there's an idea that I've got some specific experience with. We've been working in McLean, Virginia on exactly this issue, trying to redesign and try to find a way to put in new bike lanes. But what we found is that one way to do it was to make sure that they're flagged or that they're lit so that all the times there is a flashing light that runs along the corridor without having to do what sometimes is considered to be unsafe, which is the median strips or the raised level concrete pieces. And it's something that's worked in McLean. It's something that could be done here. And if you want to actually have some fun with it, the way they do it in Virginia, they call it linkage. So anybody that wants to do a project here in town, we would love to have, or we would be really interested if I'm on the planning board to try and get them to contribute to something like that, which would benefit not only the bikers, but also the people who are still driving cars. So I think we should push for something like that. All right?
Wonderful, thank you all. Next one is for the NRC. There were 3 questions. 2 of them are on the same subject, so we're going to go with that. It sounds as if lights at Honeywell Field are an issue in this race. Could you please discuss this? So if we can go in the reverse order of what we did before. So Jim, thank you.
Sure, and I assume when we're talking about Honeywell Field, we're talking about the softball field, the tennis courts, the basketball, and the stadium. So I'm for installing 100% energy efficient environmental LED lights at all of that light corridor. It's currently a lit space for playing fields. We do need playing fields. We have a huge number of teams, and I am also for lighting Wellesley Stadium. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you 4 reasons why I'm for it, and I'll give you a couple more why you should be too. First, did you know that Wellesley High School routinely has to, in the fall, dismiss full teams early from class, so they're leaving at 1, 1:30 to go play even home games because we don't have any light. So we're dismissing them early, impacting teaching and learning. So from an educational standpoint, working with the school committee, I think that is a very bad idea and has impact. Jim just talked about he would like to see, Jim Roderick on the health board is saying he would like to see us flip and actually have the high school kids start school a little later. Why don't we do that? You know, the biorhythms of teenagers tell us they should sleep a little later, start school a little later. We can't do that because of our sports teams. They'll tell you straight out, we have to get them out, we got to get them playing. The reason, we have no lights. So it's impacting human health, it's impacting the teaching and learning in our schools. Third thing, did you know the number 1 reason why people become less active in the winter and don't go out for their walks is more the dark than the cold. If you're a woman, running it in the dark it's a safety issue that I don't have to think about, but I think about when my girls go out. If you are 60 and older, the misstep of an uneven sidewalk. So if you light that field, you create a space where people can go, you know, we're right on where people train for the Boston Marathon, and it comes to this community center where people can go to be happy and healthy, you know, things that I'm for. The 4th thing is, we're timing. I did not know that. So we have 28 sports teams at Wellesley that will utilize that space. People think of it as the football stadium. It is a multi-space. So we have, you know, girls and boys lacrosse, girls and boys soccer. We have field hockey. We have football. I appreciate that. I'm actually I didn't realize I was being touched. So you would create a space where those teams that now have to be bussed off to Wellesley College and to Babson and as far as Westwood to play games, that they would have space to play. did you know, we have teams that win championships. They go to the playoffs routinely. Wellesley cannot host any of those games. So even our Little League guys that became national titles, they never hosted a home game during their playoffs. They played everything on the road. And the sole reason was to host a home game, you needed to have lights. And then the final thing on community building, because I have thought about this, and I work every day with people that are committed to making sure we live sustainable lives. I would make that space a space where we gather, where we would bring out the full community, and I would put it under 100% renewable light. So I would partner with Wellesley Municipal Light Plant, make it the power to choose, and then you do that at that field and at Reedy and at the other play fields that we're going to drive down the costs, so we'll save money for the old Yankees. We were going to lower our emissions for all the sustainable people. And then, now that we are lighting those fields under 100% sustainable energy, when people come out for the boys football and the girls field hockey and the boys and girls soccer and lacrosse and for track meets, and we're drawing in people from other communities, we get to say at halftime, hey, thanks for coming to Wellesley. Did you know that tonight's game was played under 100% sustainable energy? Learn how you can do this in your own community and in your home, so you can be part of the solution. Have a good night, and we do that repeatedly. Every night we host a game, and we put up signage, and it becomes part of our message to the community, and that helps us drive to what I think should be our goal, to be 100% sustainable and should be the leader in the country. You should think of those spaces as this is really, this idea of creating community, drawing in other people, and telling them about our message, that you can live healthy, happy, fulfilled lives, and the way to do that is to live a sustainable life. We put those fields under sustainable light. It does that, drive down emissions 80%. I'm very much for it.
So same question, Raina.
Thanks. So we have heard that some residents desire lights on the stadium to add more playing field for our children. I would just say that adding new lighting anywhere in town would always be a community decision. It's not just an NRC decision. We'd want to hear from the school committee and the DPW. We'd want to hear from all the stakeholders like the abutters. And I would be open, obviously, to starting a community discussion because, honestly, it's never just about the lights. Whenever you have a change of use, you have boards that have to check these things out because there's always traffic and noise and parking and intensity of use, and these things have a ripple effect for the entire community. One of the things that I've realized when you serve in town government, and there's always unknowns, you never know until you get everybody in a room and you start talking. And I remember thinking, oh, put down an artificial turf field and there's no maintenance, but it turns out there is still maintenance, it's just a different kind of maintenance. So just one tiny sliver of the piece of the puzzle is, does the DPW have enough people to maintain? And if they don't, who would pay for it? Which budget would it come out of? Would it be the school's budget, or the DPW's budget, or the rec budget? Or also, would the user fees go up? So that's just like one thing that you have to think about before you bring a proposal forward. So I would just like to say that one of my very first projects on the NRC was to help restore the basketball courts at the high school with their light. They'd been used as a parking lot for many years, and they were going to be brought back, and the neighbors obviously had some questions, and rightfully so. And that was actually my first experience with someone named Andy Roble. I had gone to a meeting just to hear about this, and I just showed up and everybody was in the room, like selectmen were there and planning people in there and the school building committee. And because the courts hadn't been restored, the state wasn't refunding the rest of the money that they owed us. So I remember leaving that meeting thinking, I better go and talk to my director, make sure that we're doing everything we can to get these courts back. But Andy stopped me and said, wait, I'm Andy Roble. Come to a meeting tonight on the court with the neighbors. We're going to be talking about the plans. So he said, and come early if you can. So of course I got there early, and Andy was building out of 2x4s this 20-foot long section of a pole. And he said, come and help me, and he was drilling it. And when the neighbors got there, we lifted it up, and they saw that these lights weren't going to like tower over their homes. And then we also found out, so we started talking to the neighbors, and they said, we're worried about parking. Sometimes my driveway gets, blocked, and I don't want to call the police because I know it's it's a child probably driving their parent's car. So we started just listening to all their concerns, and they wanted to know what time. We said, well, let's make it 9:30. That's the same as all the other lights on that field. Someone had the really good idea to put timers in, so that if no one's there, then the lights aren't on and we're saving energy. So I would just say, anytime that you have a big change of use, which I think lighting the field would be a big change of use, bring everybody together and talk about it. So that would be my answer. So I thank you.
Okay, last one, Board of Health. Again, we'll go in reverse order. And the question is, do you consider Wellesley's gas leaks a health issue that the Board of Health could and should address? And if so, how? So that would be Jim would go first. Jim Marguerite.
Yes. And yes. Thank you. I do consider it a health problem. I live at 73 Longfellow. Some of you may recognize that as Terry Segaris' old home, a legend in this town in terms of her civic duty. We have National Grid outside of our home every night from midnight till 6 a.m. repairing a leak. And somebody from the NRC informed me that that kind of urgent repair constantly means that this is a particular grade where there's concern about an explosion. On Thanksgiving Day, I had somebody from National Grid walk into my house with a meter. We offered him dinner. Seriously. He left with a cupcake. It's a significant problem, both physical health, obviously, gas leaks, but there is a lot of anxiety in town about gas leaks. I do think the Department of Health should have a role. I don't know exactly what that role should be. I don't know who all the players are currently engaged in resolving the gas leak problem we have in Wellesley. But it's substantial, and I'm sure that Lenny Izzo and the other members of the Board of Health would be glad to participate in the resolution of this problem. And as would I. And to support what Raina just said, I would need to gather more information and learn what the role could be for the health department, but I would encourage our participation.
Thank you. And Linda, great.
Thank you for the question. I agree. I think everybody in this room agrees that the multiple gas leaks that we have in our community have been either too abundant and they've been going on for too long, and we need to do something about it. I think the opportunity exists for the Board of Health to be involved. I'm not sure that they would run point on it, but certainly need to work in a collaborative effort with multiple town departments. At the top of my head, I would say the Department of Public Works, Municipal Light Plant, Board of Select People, as well as others, including Board of Natural Resources, need to work collaboratively. And I think there's an opportunity in this town for the boards to, and they don't exist everywhere, but break down some silos and work together. And I think this is a cause that really merits everyone's attention. It's not helping the environment, and it will only help the environment to get this under control once and for all. So thanks for the question.
So I would like to say thank you to all of you, particularly the candidates, all of you for coming out, everybody for getting involved. I think this has gone really, really well. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. not on our mailing list, please do sign up. There are many of the candidates have brought handouts that you can give away. We have some time to chat and continue to eat, so please do take advantage of that. Ask any questions you didn't get to ask. And when you are done with your food, it can be composted in the Wellesley process of home composting. And if you want to stick around to be one of the later ones, we have goodie bags so that we don't end up throwing half of lasagna in the trash. But thank you for coming again. See you all soon.